All right, everyone. In this video, I got a banger for you because this one is a problem that I see across the board, and it's pretty much finding out what is the actual bottleneck of the business. And the reason why I'm making this video is because I recently went to this mastermind, and then we were all giving away our numbers, our major problems, and the individual that was describing their problem couldn't see that that problem that he was trying to solve and optimize for was not the actual problem. And this is something that we see often when we work with our clients, that they don't really know what is the actual bottleneck and they're actually optimizing for the wrong things. So in this video, I'm gonna show you exactly what to look for and how to 5x your business by actually focusing on the actual bottlenecks of the business, not the ones that you think are the bottleneck, right? And if you don't know who I am, my name is Javi, and I help the financial industry scale by implementing the exact same system that took my own company to $2 million a year. Okay, let's jump right into it. So we have scenario one of a business making 20K per month and wants to get to six-figure per month. And in actuality, the client that we were working with in the mastermind, I'm sorry, he was actually doing 100K per month and they wanted to do 500K per month and mil per month, right? And they have really big goals, really big dreams, but they need to be focused on the actual bottleneck of the business, not what they think or what they trying to solve. Because often, here's what happens before I jump into it. What happens often is that we know the biggest problem of the business, but we ignore it just because it's too much of a big problem. It's too complex for us. We don't really truly understand it. So then we shift our focus into something that we know we could solve and we think we know we're the best at solving, so we just optimize for that, which is a mistake. Remember, what makes you a great CEO is doing what the business is asking of you to do, not what you want to do. Okay, there's a great book called How to Be a Great CEO that talks about this. Also, The Motive, a great book by Patrick Lencioni that literally talks about this, that like a great CEO does what the business is asking them of doing, not what you think is better for the business. Is what the business literally screaming at you, I need you to do these things, so then the business could grow. Okay, so and of course the business can talk to you, but the business talk to you in numbers and percentages, and if you're tracking these things correctly, then the business is technically screaming at you if you're not paying attention to these numbers. Okay, so we have scenario one, right? This company is making 20K per month, and the reason why I didn't put 100K per month is because most of our clients are doing 10, 20K per month and they want to get to 100K per month. That's primarily the people that we help. Do we help like a very small percentage, maybe like 7% of our clients want to go from 100 to 300 to 400 and beyond. But ideally, the bulk of my clients is going from 10K to 100K per month, right? So we have this 20K per month business, right? They're generating about 1,000 leads per month at a 10% booking rate, which is giving them 100 calls per month, right? They have a 30% show up rate. They have a 50% closing rate, and they're getting 30 calls a month or so, closing 4 deals, so one a week, and that it is equating to 20K per month. And the reason why I'm describing this scenario, because this is pretty much exactly what our clients go to. This is actually the around the same price there we teach our clients to sell. So this is a perfect scenario for people who'll be watching this channel. Okay, now a quick question for you, which is a quiz question: which of this department do we need to crank up more, right? So which of these is it? Do we got to do more marketing or do we got to do more sales, right? Just think about it real quick. Look at this scenario, right, of somebody making 20K per month, and you tell me where we should put our energy. Should we to get to 100K per month? Should we just do, let's say, 5,000 leads per month? So increase our ad budget or our client acquisition system, so we could get then 500 calls a month. So then we could close 20 deals per month and then get to 100K per month. Or should we fix sales and setting, which is show up rate and closing rate? What do you think is the number one thing they should put their energy in? And of course, I can't hear you what you say, but just without me giving you the answer and you're looking at this just by yourself, what will you focus on? Will you focus on getting more leads so you can get 100 to 100 grand per month, right? So if they're getting 1,000 leads to make 20K, then the math will be, okay, let's get 5,000 leads, right? Let's get 5,000 leads, and out of those 5,000 leads, we're gonna close 20 deals at 5K, so we could get 100K per month. So which of those are we focusing on? Now, the thing is most people, they would say marketing. right? They will literally, and this is the same thing that the person was saying in the mastermind. He's like, I just need more leads. I just need to increase my lead volume. If I increase my lead volume, I'm gonna get to 500K per month, right? And he was wrong. You don't have a marketing problem here. A thousand leads per month, and you're only making 20K per month with a 5K offer. That is not the bottleneck of the business. But again, most people will optimize for marketing because it's an easier problem to solve. It's just, hey, I just gotta make more ads and just increase the volume, right? But that's not the actual problem of the business. The problem of the business is, drum rolls, uh, sales and marketing. That is the actual problem, right? Sales and marketing. And now this is the harder problem to solve, because that means you got to train. If it's sales and marketing, that means that you're a horrible leader. The people you hire and train are doing horrific. You guys suck at sales. You guys suck implementing show up strategies. So it's almost telling you, okay, I need to do a way better job at this because I'm failing my team, or you're failing your team on leadership and guiding them how to do it correctly. So it's definitely a harder problem to solve. That's why so many people just optimize to marketing, right? So now let me give you the exact same scenario, but we fixed the show up rate, which is 30%, and we fixed the closing rate, which is 15%. And look what happens. So if we go now here to scenario number 2, right? This is 100K per month business. Now they're getting 1,000 leads per month, same volume of lead. They're still booking at a 10% booking rate, so still 100K per 100 calls per month, but they have 70% show up rate, and they have a 30% closing rate, right? And what does that equate to? So that equates to 70 calls taken that month. That means they closed at a 30%. They closed 21 offers that month at an offer of 5K, which now guess what? Guess what number they're in? They're 100K per month plus. You see how sometimes we're just so focused on the wrong things that without coming up with a new offer, without coming up with more landing pages, or new offer, or a new funnel, or a new low ticket, or a new whatever, by literally just focusing on the actual bottlenecks of the business, we 5x the business. Literally 5x the business by actually focusing on the actual bottleneck of the business. And most people just are focusing on the wrong thing, and that's the reality. And I made these 10 mistakes. Many people that I know I made the mistake, and then it just reminded me when this guy was talking, the founder of this company, that he was already making a shit ton of money, but at 100K per month, he had a horrible closing rate. I think it was like 15%, and he had a horrible show up rate. And we were all telling him, like everyone in the mastermind, especially me, because I was the one talking at that point. I'm like, bro, you don't have a marketing problem, you have a sales problem. And the guy's like, no, no, my sales is good, my sales is good. Then we started doing more digging. We asked about the show up rate, we asked about the closing rate, and then he gave us his numbers. I'm like, bro, you have a sales problem. And it's funny enough, I told this individual 5 times what the problem was, but he kept going back into, nah, I need more leads because at least I'm not qualified enough, and then they're more qualified, whatever. And then it's funny enough, other people in the group started telling him, no, bro, you have a sales problem, you have a sales problem. Pretty much everybody was having a sales problem. And funny enough, later on that day, another mastermind member was telling me, he's like, dude, it's funny how you're communicating with this guy, because I can see you getting frustrated telling this guy, it's like, bro, it's sales that's the problem, not marketing. Forget about marketing. Your marketing is good. You're getting, I forgot the exact same lead volume that he was getting. I just put 1,000 here for this scenario because it was easy math to do 10%, whatever. But I forgot the number he was doing. So they were good marketers, but they were actually bad salespeople or bad leaders in the sales part of the business. And then somebody told me later on, it's like, bro, you told this guy 5 times, and I see you getting frustrated telling him, mother effer, it's sales that is the problem. I didn't tell him mother effer because I didn't want to be rude, but I'm like, bro, it's marketing and sales. I said it multiple times. Then other people in the master start jumping in, and they're like, no, it's definitely marketing and sales, blah 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 blah. And I wish I had this scenario to show them, because they will simply understand what was I talking about. So whenever you're struggling to scale your business, maybe if you are making 20K per month, you need to take a step back and look at what is the actual bottlenecks. And off the bat, one of the main bottlenecks is usually show up rate and closing rate, right? And like if your marketing part is solid, and you're actually bringing people to the calls, and everybody's booking calls with you, and people are actually interested, right? But then you're fumbling the bag on implementing the right strategies to have them oh, I wasn't sharing my screen. Like implementing the best systems possible or strategies possible to increase your show up rate, or to actually train yourself in sales as much as possible to increase your closing rate, then you're essentially just pissing money away. Because why would you spend more money on ads? Let's say on this particular um, a scenario, they're probably spending, let's say, 10K per month. Or actually, let me just say 5K, right? They're spending 5K per month, and they want to, so 5K per month, ad spend, right? And they want to bump it up to say like 20, But if you do bump it up to, 20 grand an ad spend a month, you're burning money away because you didn't fix the two problems that was holding you back, which is sales and show up rate and closing rate, right? You literally have 70% of the people that booked a call with you never even showing up to the call. And then from the people that do book a call with you, you're closing them at 15%, which is extremely low. Like industry standards, usually about 20%. Even at 25%, I'm telling my people in my community and in my program, dude, you got to get to 30%. You got to get to 30%. You got to get to, because 30%, going from 20 to 30 could easily double the business, right? In this scenario in particular, we 5x the business by going from 15 to 30% closing rate, and by having the formula flip between 30% not showing up, or showing up, to 70% showing up. And just that, honestly, you can just focus on the show up rate, and you already make more. Because, and even if you still have a 15% closing rate, but you're taking 70 calls, you already doubled the business, right? But now if you have the right show up rate and then the right closing rate, you're literally 5x the business. Like it just, this is something that like a lot of people don't get, which is perfectly fine, that you just don't have a lot of business experience. But look how I just 5x the business by focusing on the actual bottleneck of the business, and not something that I think is the bottleneck, or something that I want to be the bottleneck because I know how is an easy fix. So you're just throwing, every it's like every problem. This happens a lot with marketers, and it's happened to me before, that like I try to solve every problem with marketing. It's like, just throw marketing at it. It's like, oh, okay, this thing doesn't fit. Okay, just throw marketing at it, and hopefully it fits, and hopefully it fixes all the problem. But in reality, the actual bottleneck for this individual was sales. And this is probably something that you're probably going through right now. And this is something that I actually see with my own community, with my own clients, that they might think, well, actually, we usually guide them and tell them where the bottleneck is, so they don't really come to this a scenario often. Like if they're stuck at 20K per month, they know why they're stuck at 20K per month. Then they know that it's not a more marketing problem. They know it's mainly a sales problem, or a system problem, or a show up problem, right? Because if they have more people to show up and they have a higher closing rate, you're just naturally making more money, and you didn't do anything else. Now the problem is the show up rate. Getting to 70% is not that difficult, all right? Like you can get to a 60, 70% easy, right? I have videos about this. You can look at my channel, how to increase your show up rate. But essentially the best way to increase your show up rate is to start canceling calls. As soon as somebody you see is not qualified, cancel them. If they don't confirm, cancel it. If the application looks horrible, cancel them. If you call them and they didn't confirm, cancel it, right? So don't take calls that you don't need to. Don't take calls that don't need to be on the calendar, because this dramatically throws out of whack your show up rate. Now, the closing rate, that was a little bit harder. You have to work at. There's something that is literally by reps. No matter how many courses you buy, no matter how many books you read, or how many sales training you take, sales, the best way to learn sales and increase sales skills is literally by just doing reps. The more reps you do by implementing the things that you learn, the better you get there. Like it's not like, oh, I'm just gonna read a book and I don't know where I'm the best closer possible. It never works like that. It's usually I'm learning a bunch of things, I'm being mentored by a bunch of things, and then I go take those things into action. And then after you take your first 100 calls, then you can see your closing rate going up. All right. But this is pretty much this scenario. It's very important. I see it across the board. I see it with different industry. I see it with my own clients. I see it when I go to different masterminds and we are talking about business, that people are focused, or entrepreneurs and business owners are focused on the wrong bottleneck of the business, and that's why they're feeling stuck, because they're putting they're putting the wrong level of the business, right? Instead of focusing on sales, right? Essentially, because setting is technically a form of sales, right? So instead of not focusing on sales and just throwing marketing at everything, right? They're gonna lose way more money and they're making less money. So not only you're losing way more money because the output of your input is completely being wasted. You know, booking, let's say 100 calls and only 30 of them are showing up. You just threw away 70 leads that you paid for, 70 book calls that you technically paid for. And depending on what your cost per book call is, it could be thousands of dollars. So you already, you know, lost money there. And then secondly, you're losing money by not closing enough people, which is another chunk of money, 5x in your business, you know, because in this scenario, again, this person is making 20K per month by having a 30% show up rate and a 15% closing rate. Then this particular business or scenario that has a 30% closing rate and a 70% show up rate, same funnel, same system, same ad, same offer, same everything. It's just the percentages are way better. So when you're looking at a business right now and your competition, and they're probably making, you know, 100, 200, 300 per month or a couple $1 million per year, and they're the same industry as you, the main reason, well, one, the marketing always has to be on lockdown. This scenario I'm giving you something that the marketing is already solved. You know, you already have consistency of clients, of booking calls in your calendar, and that's usually what most companies come to me for marketing services, so that I could scale them using the same system that allowed me to scale my business. But then I always tell them, hey, no amount of marketing is going to save you being a horrible closer. Now, I do believe that sales is bad marketing, meaning if your marketing is really, really good, it could lift your closing rate, which is what happened to me like about 3 years ago. I was horrible at sales, but my marketing was really good at that time compared to my competition, that people would just gravitate towards me, and that gave me a lift in closing rate, right? And then plus I was taking 5 calls a day for like 2 years. Then, you know, naturally I got up to like a 70% closing rate, and that's how I got really good at sales. So it's a volume game, but it's also knowing exactly what to do and how to do it that gets you to that level. Okay, but I digress. Point is, if you want to scale your business and you're stuck at 20K per month and you keep wondering why, this is what you gotta do. Now, I have seen the opposite of this, that meaning that you actually are a really good closer, but then the leads are not coming in. You get me? And that's the main reason why most people join my program. They might be a good closer, they might be a good setter, but they just don't have the consistency of leads, and that's usually the main problem that I help you solve. But then a lot of times they're used to talking to warmer leads or referrals, which is totally different game than cold traffic. So then we had to teach them on how to get better at sales. That's pretty much what my program essentially, bro, is it's literally a training on the skills that you need in order to scale the business, which is marketing, sales, fulfillment, getting client results, and then leadership. Because if you can't hire and delegate, very difficult to hit the very high revenue monthly numbers, because there's only enough time in a day and you can't do it all. So essentially the main skills that when you work with us that we're teaching you is marketing, sales, fulfillment, getting client results. Really, really important. It's part of the best marketing out there. Have a really good product, and then leadership skills, so you can hire, train, and scale the business correctly. All right. So this is pretty much it. This is something that I just wanted to cover here, because I know it's very important, and a lot of people just don't even think about this stuff of the actual bottleneck. It's not the bottleneck that you want it to have, because you know how to easy fix. If you're stuck in the business right now, you're probably not solving a really difficult problem in the business that you're ignoring or choosing not to solve, because the problem might be too complex, or you don't even know how to solve the problem. So you're just avoiding it, and then you're going to, let me solve it with something that I do know. All right. So don't make that mistake. Look at the business, how it is. Try to take a step back, remove yourself from the equation, track your KPIs. This is why I always say, what you can't track, you can't measure, you can't control. And if you want to be in control of your business, you got to track your data. If I wasn't tracking data, how would I know this? How would I know that, you know, my show up rate, or let me go back over here. If I wasn't checking my data, how would I know those percentages? How would I know those KPIs? How would I know that I need to focus on my closing rate? How would I know that I need to focus on my show up rate, right? How do I know that, like, I'm getting 1,000 leads per month and booking 100 calls per month? The only reason you know this stuff is because you're tracking this stuff. So if you don't track, you don't want to scale. All right. So I hope you got some understanding of how to actually break the bottleneck and actually double, triple, or even 5x your business by actually focusing on the bottleneck that is really holding your business back.